to touch upon one of the last hot topics, trash hours, ethical AI solutions to return trust to citizens. The main objective is to provide those tools for security, like banking solutions, mobile applications, etc. Begoña González is going to be moderating. Hi, Begoña. Hi again. Okay, without any further ado, I'll leave you with them. The floor is yours. I'm here once again in Spanish. I'm like Hannah Montana. It's a great pleasure for me to interview Javier and Miguel, not only because their impressive expertise, but also because we're almost friends at this point, and they're here to tell us about Trust Aware. It's a project that Cibervoluntarios has collaborated in. We collaborated with this for 3 years. The term is over, so I think we've seen each other more than enough. This panel is on digital spaces, but I want to focus particularly on how regular citizens participate in them. In an increasingly digitalized world, information exchange is ongoing, but it's not always conscious. So I would like to ask, what are the data that citizens share more often without being aware of it? And what are the online scenarios where we do this? Thank you, everyone. Thanks, Begoña. Thanks, Cibervoluntarios, for inviting us. For us, it's a pleasure to be here. It's our first time in Empodera Live, but some other colleagues were here before. And it seems like we've been seeing each other a lot, and that we will keep doing so because we have some more projects in the pipeline. So it's a pleasure to be here. About the question that you just posed, it's tough because in our current digital life, we share data constantly, whether we're aware of it or not. We may be aware of being of sharing information, particularly on social media, where there's lots of interaction from different type of audiences. There are many types of social media, and we may be thinking that we are sharing something worryingly, but maybe we're sharing more than what we think. For example, we may be sharing a video that we think is very innocent, and then a real analysis of that information may lead to identify where you are when there may be traceability that may be combined with other data sources that creates a profile of that person. I mean, it's not what we see with a naked eye. An analysis may shed light on other things that we are sharing. For example, our web behavior. We know that we receive customized information online because of the cookies, right? So that's another way of sharing our interests, of creating a personal profile of ourselves. We buy things, we share our cards, and sometimes we tick on, I want to get information from third companies. That means that those companies are sharing information with third parties. Then in some apps, you, for example, go jogging. That company gets information about where you are, what's your heart rate, how much you exercise daily, what your habits are. So if you can combine all that information, we realize that we are sharing many things of our life. And then there's something that we're not aware of. We get phishing emails or smishing emails. So through social engineering attacks, that is companies or organizations that try to pretend to be third parties. Sometimes you get an email saying that Correos, the post office, or a company has a package for you, and you have to click somewhere and enter information. So there are different levels, but it's a matter of data and of information that they want to have about us to exploit it and to use it somehow. We don't know what that way is like. The way you're telling it, it seems like we're going to have the SEALs accessing our house at any moment. My question is, what do they really do? What do these companies do with this information? What's the reach, and how much at risk are we? Is it that serious? As Javi was saying, at the end of the day, they can create profiles, very detailed profiles about us, and know more about us ourselves, than we know ourselves. I'm sure that you have talked next to your cell phone about something, and then out of the blue, you get advertisement about that thing that you were discussing next to the cell phone, things that you were not looking online, and it's not feasible that that information comes from Google. Here we have two schools of thought. One is that the cell phone listens to us, and another one is that social media algorithms know so much about us that they can predict what we will want next. I'll let you figure out what school of thought you choose. That on the one hand. And that's what's lawful. But if someone accesses that information, if those informations that gather all that data and they know so much about us, if they're hacked, if those companies are hacked, because, well, if this information is in lawful hands, they may know a lot about us for advertisement purposes. But if we're talking about a criminal, they can carry out a targeted attack. If I get an email from with the name of my boss, they have my cell phone number, I'm more likely to believe that person is my boss, even though it may not be my boss. Then if I get an email of someone offering me a job, because I'm sure you've also received these sort of like, oh, I have a job for you emails. So depending on the hands that, I mean, where this information falls and the hands of which this information is in, these may be more or less serious. Some people may be interested in having getting targeted advertisement. Anyways, I think it's important to be able to choose and to be aware of what we're sharing and what we're not sharing. I ran this test. I was talking about dog food. I don't have a pet, and I started receiving a dog food advertisement. So I encourage you running that test. Okay, so now we are scared stiff. Thank you very much. So what can we do? We users, what specific measures can we adopt to safeguard ourselves from this informational theft? I mean, it's not really a theft because we're sharing the information.
There are several things you can do as a user. First of all, try to set up the social media and the websites where you share that information to be less public or not as public as they usually are. And you need to check who you're sharing that information with. Our systems and our apps let us understand who we are sharing that information with. For example, you can also reject certain functionalities. For example, if you're not sharing any pictures, a particular app does not need access to your photo gallery, or they don't need access to your microphone. And then when surfing the net, you can use safer browsers and search engines, for example, DuckDuckGo or the like. They are more careful with what they track from us. And like Google, you can use Brave or Firefox as browsers. They are also more respectful than Chrome. But of course you should use your common sense. If you're sharing a picture showing you on the beach, cyber criminals will know that you're not at home. Normal thieves, plain thieves will know that you're not at home. So I'm really making that easy for them. So these questions, privacy and security for normal citizens, is part of this project, Trust Aware, Europe Horizon project coordinated by TreeLogic. So please tell us about it because it just ended. It just completed. Oh no, we still have 10 more days. So please let us know what your missions were, what your targets were. So it is a European project and it will end the 31st of May 2024. It started 3 years ago with a consortium. I don't know if you're familiar with the European projects. This is a collaborative mechanism between 12 partners in Europe. We have some other partners in Spain, well, Cibervoluntarios and ourselves, and then people from Finland, Ireland, Italy, and some more countries. So the aim of the project was to develop a set of tools to improve privacy and security in several types of audiences. Not just that, but to make those end users aware of the relevance of privacy and security. And we were trying to reach two different audiences because we had two blocks, one led by Cibervoluntarios for the cities and end users. They chose people who with different profiles and levels, literacy levels, both minors and people over 65. In some other countries, it was people over 55. And Cibervoluntarios coordinated the participation of more associations in France, Italy, and Romania, with the aim of analyzing the designs and the development of the tools to obtain from them feedback, insights, and suggestions on how to improve it. Because whatever we develop is for an audience, and if the audience doesn't use it or don't like it, well, you will be wasting 3 years of your time. So they wanted to know what they thought about accessibility, usability, etc. So we have like a panel combining 4 tools. Please stop me whenever you want me to stop if I talk too much. So the first panel was with a tool developed by ourselves for mobile applications, so that, as Miguel was saying, it will identify the relevant aspects of, for example, a privacy policy that you normally just accept without giving it a read. It identifies specific areas of data sharing, etc. And it also analyzes the description of the application and detects the permissions that it uses or that it really needs to function. For example, if you install a calculator that wants to get access to your images or your agenda or your list of contacts, makes no sense. Another functionality is an analysis that analyzes the ads that you get through the app and the profiling. For example, one of the volunteers in the 4 countries said that we should be able to block those ads. Another functionality is, for example, to introduce a URL, to enter an URL, and it will tell you whether it's safe or not. And then the fourth pillar, because we had the active collaboration of all the organizations in this, was training, providing the dashboard with material information on tips or tricks on how to behave in certain situations. And then we have another side for data managers and data processors for them to gather information, identify threats, etc. Thank you. Trustware uses artificial intelligence, but how? Because we've always been told that it should be the opposite. How would an artificial intelligence make this safer? Well, obviously, Trustware uses artificial intelligence for the good, because of course it can be used for evil. Cyber criminals use any available tool, but we use it, as Javier was saying, to make a summary, to highlight the most important parts of the privacy policies that we normally don't read because they use too technical a language or because they're too long. So with that, we can summarize it and make it easier to understand for the general public, so that we can understand what is being done or what the policy wants to do with our data. The other side of the coin is that artificial intelligence can also play, can also be well ill-intended. For example, to do phishing or to launch campaigns and enter malware and to dynamically modify malware. It is a very powerful tool that can be used either for good or for evil. So those who work on the good side of the coin see it as a different way, in a different way. So please choose your sides. Take sides. Thank you for this interview. I think we have time for one question. I'm not choosing. So my question is whether you could give us recommendations, for example, about sharing information. I had a similar experience. I went to a birthday party. My cell phone was in my bag, in the hanger, and then the birthday person said something about his shower, about the tap in the shower. And then I got a lot of thoughts about showers and shower taps. So I understand what you're saying. When we open accounts, we accept many things. So depending on what I do on the internet, or depending on the apps, I can accept or reject some of the options. But some of them require you to accept or to give your consent to them using your microphone or your agenda or your photo gallery. So what would you recommend us to, I don't know, try to block something in those apps? Well, first of all, don't use them. No, that's impossible. One possible solution is, well, to block the microphone every time we use it. Yes, yes, but is that it? No, because you cannot do anything about it if it's not prohibited by law. There is no other solution. The only solution is to block your microphone. Yes, use whatever you have in your phone to block it or lock it. But I didn't even have my phone on me, but the mic was open. Microphones in your cell phone are very good, very powerful. It's like you have to be aware that, for example, you can do, "Hey Google," a Google anytime, and you don't need to activate your microphone first. So they're open all the time. They're listening to you. Yes, this microphone is not open. No, no battery. No battery. No, it's dead. But we cannot hear the moderator without a microphone. Thank you for being here today. Thank you for those of you who stayed till the end of the session. I think there's a family picture now. No, there's one more. I am really sorry. There's one more speaker now. Thank you, Miguel and Javier. An applause for you.